Hainapi, Buju, Danyan Hipi, Hanacha, Hinikadagawina, Wajanawina, Hamte, Hanicha, Wira Haipin. Good afternoon. On behalf of the Foundation and Centering Native Voices, it is my pleasure to welcome you all here this afternoon. My name is Dr. Heather Ann Moody. I am the Director of the American Indian Studies program here at UW-Eau Claire, as well as a proud enrolled citizen of the Ho-Chunk Nation and an alumna of UW-Eau Claire as well. The lands we are gathered on here today have many stories to tell of the caretakers that were here long before us. Today, we honor those stories and acknowledge the ground where the legacy of the past combines with the peoples of today. I encourage you later this afternoon, it's a very nice, beautiful day out, to take a short walk to the west of our Davies Center to visit the Council Oak, which stands as a symbol of the place where Ojibwa, Dakota, Ho-Chunk, Menominee, and Potawatomi nations gathered for ceremonies, peaceful dialogue, exchange of knowledge, and celebrate the life Creator has given us. Not long ago, this land was home to the Dakota and Ojibwe people. Today, we acknowledge that the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire occupies the sacred and ancestral lands of Indigenous peoples past and present. As we are gathered here this afternoon, please remember to be good to one another as our worlds intersect. I would now like to introduce and welcome Interim Chancellor Carney to say a few words.
Thank you very much, Dr. Moody, and thank everyone for being here today. 10 years ago, UW-Eau Claire celebrated the rededication of the Council Oak tree that Dr. Moody mentioned, honoring the original caretakers of the land our institution occupies. Dee Sweet, the founder of our American Indian Studies program, spoke at that rededication, which took place 25 years after the current Council Oak was sanctified with a sunrise ceremony. We are thrilled to have members of the Sweet family here with us today to celebrate this new Native American artwork. I also want to recognize alumna Annie Titus, who started the Indigenous Art Fund and fully supported bringing this piece of art to the campus. She also created the frame for the artwork. She shared that around the time of the university's centennial celebration and rededication of the Council Oak, she began to notice that the sacredness of this land and its long history as a site for conflict resolution. She jumped at the opportunity to collaborate with Chris, and her frame was made with hand tools and harmonizes with Chris Sweet's painting of A Meeting Place. Annie, could you just raise your hand or stand if you're able to say, accept our thanks? In conclusion, thank you for being here to hear from Chris and take in this artwork as part of this year's Indigenous Peoples Day recognition. And Heather Ann, I'll now turn it back to you.
Thank you, Chancellor Carney. In 1964, the first American Indian graduated from UW-Eau Claire with a Bachelor of Arts degree in art. Over 6 decades later, we welcome that graduate, Lenore Sweet, back to our campus. It is now my privilege and honor to introduce Lenore Sweet for a few words from her.
Nice to see all these smiling faces here in the bright sunshine today, but I don't know where I am because I don't recognize any building. I graduated 61 years ago, and so I'm sure there have been many changes since then, and I had not had the opportunity to come back and visit, but I would have liked to, but I've been very busy in all kinds of different opportunities, etc., in teaching, in graphic arts, and legal issues also, because I did work for the Ho-Chunk Nation as an area representative on their business committee in 1977, prior to our tribe going into the gaming industry. And that took a lot of work, and we spent a lot of time trying to resolve many issues that we had to live with at that time. And of course, we only had one attorney at that time because we were very far behind in funds. But I'm very pleased to be back here to see this campus grow so much. But the best part I would like to tell you about is my 2 years here on campus. I lived 2 blocks north of this campus at a private home with Dr. John Coca, a geography professor. And what also might surprise you is that the rent we paid was $5 a week. Could you believe that? And I'm not lying. It was like being at home because Mrs. Coca would always give us a great big Sunday dinner, and she always made us feel at home. So this campus really was an enjoyable place for me. I spent most of my time in the arts and the drama department and in that theater building because I participated in all of the dramas and plays that were put on in one capacity or the other, but I really enjoyed it. And also, that was Dr. Kerr. I don't know that he would be here or have any students now, but that's a long time ago that I was here. And also Dr. John Rogers was in the art department, and I took most of his classes, so those courses were in one building, so I didn't have to move around very much. Of course, the campus was quite a bit smaller then, so, but I'm just happy to be able to come here. I had high hopes that one of my children would come to this campus, but I guess not. They went to other places like the University of Oklahoma and University of Oshkosh and UW-Madison. Some of my children are here. My 2 daughters are here, and my son Christopher, and several of my grandchildren. And some of them have just finished school, so there may be other chances that they could end up here. So I appreciate this opportunity to welcome you and thank you.
Thank you so much, Lenore. It's just been remarkable to have our very first Native American graduate here and to know that all the generations that came after you, including Dee Sweet, who is also here with us this afternoon. A little over 20 years following Lenore's graduation, Dee Sweet graduated from UW-Eau Claire with both a bachelor's and a master's degree in English. And from 2005 to 2008, she served as the second poet laureate for the state of Wisconsin. Dee joined us for our very first Indigenous Peoples Day that we recognized on our campus, as Chancellor mentioned, in 2015. And now it is my honor to welcome her back to campus to share with us a poem in Lenore's honor.
Glitch, I really appreciate this opportunity and to see the people who have joined us to help us celebrate the accomplishments and the notoriety of my auntie, Aunt Lenore. She was a very important force in my life, and I'm not sure if she knows that. I know that when I was talking casually about advancing my education and earning degrees, and I mentioned that in her presence, and she said, "Oh, you have to go to UW-Eau Claire. You have to go there because that's where Vita Stone is, and you'll do fine as long as Vita is there, and she'll make sure that you do okay." So I was telling people from the audience that You know, I don't know where I would be or who I would be if it weren't for my Aunt Lenore. I mean, there's so many opportunities when you get an education that if someone encourages you and advises you, listen to them, because an education comes in many different forms, and at UW-Eau Claire, it was a quality education. Today, I wanted to read a poem for my Aunt Lenore and let her know how much I care for her and how much I respect and love her. And I started out with a poem of memories that I have of my Aunt Lenore. And I put it on my laptop and then left it at home. So I apologize for that, because it's not a bad poem, actually. But oftentimes it's characteristic for me to take years to write a poem. I don't know if anyone else has that experience. You know, Aunt Lenore, I'm not quite sure where I am either. The campus has changed, but if my brother heard that, he'd say, well, that figures. Once again, she's confused. The poem that I've selected to read for her is a poem that I wrote with the assistance of John Greendeer. And John is a good friend of mine, and he's very proud and grateful to be Ho-Chunk. And so I wrote a poem thinking about the Ho-Chunk people, how the state of Wisconsin, at the very least, is a veritable empire of the Ho-Chunk people from time immemorial. So it's real important that we recognize that there was, an advanced civilization here before the rest of us came to this area, the Great Lakes region. And they have really an outstanding leadership and a focus, an eye on the prize of education. And so I've admired the people of my auntie. And even though I'm Ojibwe, I think by association, I too am Ho-Chunk. And I entitled this poem that I'm going to read for you today and dedicated to my auntie today is The People of the Sea. And sort of the background of the poem has to do with Red Banks in Green Bay, where I taught for a while. And I ventured out in the middle of winter and tried to locate the gathering place of Red Banks. And of course, you know, there are no particular places where people sat down and visited with the people who came to that area. Was it Nicolay? And other people too would enter into this area in Green Bay, Wisconsin. And so at Red Banks for the Ho-Chunk Nation. Beauty at its best is undisturbed in winter. The white wings of ice and snow wraps itself around this forest without so much as a whisper. The dry oak fills and fills without warning, without witness, and then one day we are buried in our own mock amazement. Where did this snow come from? As though drifts of snow and slates of ice would not be here had we paid attention, had we not slept through the howl of storms that let go of the rope we held to autumn. I wander through the wooded corridor of the Red Banks, surrounded by silver maple, poplar birch, and the slender red cedar stemming skyward. I am left to plod and stammer through drifts of snow with no tracks to follow, no maps with arrows or stars marking the spot on which I stand. You are here. The sky is all I recognize, the star stories and the legends of naked-eyed astronomers, stories that begin to whisper and stir, and the names away within the wind, within our hearts and minds. In my third season, I have finally learned to be still. In my third season, I have finally learned how to wait. The people of the thunders had gathered round the strangers at this inland shoreline. The one who spoke with great eloquence, with grand gesture, in a splendid robe ornate with feather stitches, folds of satin. Those who could throw lightning with their hands and split the sky with such report. None could remember hearing such puny voices, such noise. A red-tailed hawk follows my curious wandering beyond this wooded stretch of a highway and the distressed sound of 18-wheelers sailing through this moment toward an urgent other place. I'm wholly unaware of the slow, searing sound of a hawk or the mincing steps of a white-tailed deer before she leaves a wooded grove, before she races frantically back and forth and then across the highway into an open field or another quiet stand of trees. What moves, moves. A star story sweeping through the sky, a pure sound pouring over the heart of the people, this wooded land, this bay. We find the origin of thunder here to be remembered. Miigwech. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dee. From poetry to visual art, we now have this great opportunity to continue to recognize Lenore with a newly commissioned piece by her son, Christopher Sweet. Christopher was born and raised in Wisconsin and is a member of the Ho-Chunk Nation as well as White Earth Ojibwe. Christopher's work has been exhibited throughout Wisconsin and the Midwest, including our own Pablo Center here in Eau Claire. In 2021, he opened Blue Bear Studio, his creative space and gallery. Blue Bear is the English translation of his Ho-Chunk name, Hunchchoga. Please welcome Christopher Sweet.
Hini Karagiwi, Ho-Chunk Rajara, Hunchoga, Hingairi, Nagamachiri Rajara, Christopher Sweetga, Hingairi. It's good to see you all. My Ho-Chunk name is Blue Bear, and my English name is Christopher Sweet. I want to thank Heather and Chancellor Carney for their words and involvement in this celebration. I would also like to thank Sheila and the UW Committee Foundation for reaching out to me regarding this opportunity. Special thank you to Annie for her commitment to honoring the region's First Peoples, our history, and our indigenous communities that will thrive today. Thank you for your generous contribution to making this artwork possible, including the beautiful frame. Thank you, Annie. I feel really honored to be here today and to have been asked to create a piece of artwork for UW-Eau Claire, knowing that my mother, Lenore, was the first Native American student to graduate from this university. Lenore was the first Native American student to graduate from this university, made this project very important to me. And to know that my cousin Denise Sweet is also an alumni made it that much more uplifting. I look up to you both proudly in your achievements and the important barriers that you have broke through for future generations have truly inspired my work. I just want to thank you both with all my heart for being such strong matriarchs. Pinigigi and Glutch. So, although I am a Ho-Chunk tribal member, I wanted to also honor my father, George, they called him Bud, George Bud Sweet, and my connection to our White Earth Ojibwe ancestry. When considering a name for the painting, there were words for council meeting or ceremony, but I felt the Ojibwe word, Ma-wanji Indiwak, meaning they come together, captured the sentiment most. The University of Wisconsin, Eau Claire, is located on the land where our ancestors came together. It was and still is a place to come together, meet with each other in the spirit of collaboration and community. A place of learning, a coming together to share ideas, solve problems, and meet with a shared purpose. When creating this painting for the Welcome Center, those thoughts were in my mind and in my heart. I use the colors yellow and blue for UW-Eau Claire. You think we should take this time to unveil it? We're going to unveil it. So I'm going to start that over. Excuse me. So the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire is located on the land where our ancestors came together. It was and still is a place to come together, meet with each other in the spirit of collaboration and community, a place of learning, a coming together to share ideas, solve problems, and meet with a shared purpose. When creating this painting for the Welcome Center, those thoughts were in my mind and in my heart. I used the colors yellow and blue for UW-Eau Claire to anchor my signature applique motif to the canvas. The vibrant complementary colors within the applique motif draw in the viewer. The lower scenery depicts the council oak tree as a sapling, surrounded by sacred waterways and transported the tribes here. It's kind of hard to see for the people in the back, but you're welcome to come and look at it. The little Niagara Creek empties into the Chippewa River nearby, and the sounds of nature give life to the beautiful landscape. As the tribes gather in the crisp morning, a family gives offerings near the young oak to welcome a new day. Jigokira, wani ginapwe. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Chris, and to the entire Sweet family who were up here, but also who came as supporters as well. Can we please just give one more round of applause for Christopher D. and Lenore? At this time, I want to thank our donor, Annie, the Sweet family, UW-Eau Claire Foundation, and Centering Native Voices for making this day possible. I also would like to put a little plug out there to please join us again on Monday at 5 p.m. for our recognition of Indigenous Peoples Day with a screening of Sacred Wisdom, Sacred Earth, which was produced by our very own Dr. Brian McGinnis. The screening will be followed by a panel of participants from the film as well. As we leave our time together, I encourage you to reflect on how the land and art of our campus provide pathways for people of all generations and backgrounds to call home. Take a walk to the Council Oak and the Benishi Ogitigan, the Birds Garden, visit the tribal flags on the 3rd floor of Daisy Center, and of course reflect on Christopher's art that surrounds us both here and in the back. All of these are reminders that we all belong here and continue to honor our ancestors before us and the ones to come. I would want to wish you a wonderful evening and a weekend, and please feel free to come and ask Christopher some questions, take a closer look at the art, and with that, Jige Hani Chakjina. Thank you.